In this lesson, we're going to finish out the hips and start working on the main portion of the leg. Alright, so we need to fill in the gaps that we've created here. We've got the main loops that we want so far, but now we need to start working on the rest of this. So starting right here along the back, let's take this edge right here, and let's come up and select this edge. We're going to use bridge, and we're going to bridge that with two segments here, so it should just create one in the center, and we'll hit OK on that. We'll take that edge and we'll pull this back in the Y there. Now let's grab this vertex along the top, let's pull that back, because this starts to actually form into the buttocks itself. So from here, let's start to bridge in the rest of this geometry. Now the way that I'm going to go about this is I'm going to select this edge, and we're going to bridge that using the same sort of segments. Let's make sure that that is welded. That should be. That's good. And we'll take this and we'll pull it out. Okay, and that's going to start creating that shape for the buttocks. And then we're going to go to edge mode. We're going to select this, and we'll bridge that with a single polygon. And then we'll select here to here with another polygon. We have a triangle there, but we'll take care of that momentarily. And then we'll go from here to here, hitting bridge. Same thing here. Okay, so we've got a nice shape here. We might pull these in just a little bit more along the center. Okay, that looks good. And now that we have the back, let's go to border mode, select that triangle, and cap. And then we're going to go to vertex mode, and I'm going to cut from here out to the center, and I'll take that vertex and just kind of pull that in. So that will create a loop that comes up underneath. And this would also give us the opportunity to actually take these vertices right here, and with our edge constraint turned on, we can spread that out a little bit more and kind of even out the size of those polygons. And that will allow us to push our shape a little bit more. Okay. Without the constraints turned on, let's take those edges that we just moved and let's pull those back out in the X just a little bit. Okay, just to retain that form. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. I'm happy with that shape, happy with the way that's flowing into the leg. Okay, so everything looks pretty good. Let's see, what else could we do? I think that's good. Now let's go ahead and take care of the front. Now with this one, I'm just going to use border, select that, and cap, and then we'll come into vertex mode and we'll just start cutting on this. So I'm going to right click and cut from here across, and then I'm going to cut from here across, and same thing here. Then we'll cut from here all the way up to here, and then now all we have to do is just come in, take those vertices and pull those out to create our form that we need on our leg. So I'm going to pull those out kind of far at first, and then I'm going to go to my left view, and then I'll just shape that. So I'll take this, let me pull that back, and take that, let me pull that back a little bit. Good looking shape. Going to my left view, let me take these vertices, let me pull those back. I want that to kind of flow with the rest of that form. Same thing here. Pretty happy with that. That looks good. And then we have underneath, which is perfectly fine. So now we've got plenty of geometry in here for this to deform. I do want to come in and add just one more segment right here in the middle. So really quickly, let's hit Control-Shift-S for our Swift Loop tool. Let's hold down Shift and click right in there. And that should follow with that form. But most importantly, that's just going to add enough polygons right there in the middle to allow that to flex. Now going to your front view, you'll notice that the hip is kind of off here. So I'm going to go to vertex mode, and I'm going to go to freeform, paint deform, and then shift. And I'm going to take my fall off to about 200. And then I'm going to left click and drag and just barely start pulling these polygons out. Okay. And once we have those into position, we can come in, we can turn off that poly draw, or that shift, I'm sorry. And then I'll just move some of these vertices in to help that match a little bit better. Okay. Using the shift is great for kind of pulling those out in a general direction. And then you just come in and tweak using your move tool. So nothing wrong with that. Push that one back in just a little bit. Alright, great. So now that we have this, I'm happy with the overall form, the way that that's looking. Let's go ahead and apply a turbo smooth to this really quickly. I just want to see what that looks like smoothed out. And you can see that it creates some great loops in here. Let's turn on isoline display. Now you'll notice that I have something that kind of looks like an N-gon right here, and that's because there's a vertex that's not welded there. So let's select right around that vertex. You'll see here it says 2 vertices selected. Let's just simply hit weld, and we should be good now. So that looks great. Got a nice looking form there, and everything's flowing really nicely. That's going to just allow for plenty of deformation in this model. Okay, so let's delete that turbo smooth. Let's go to edge mode. I'm going to double click on this edge right here. Then I'm going to hold down control and convert my selection to vertex. And then we're going to use make planar in the X direction. Make sure that that is perfectly lined up. And then go to edge mode with that edge selected. Let's use symmetry. And we'll hit flip in the X direction. And then we'll add turbo smooth to that. On our turbo smooth, let's make sure isoline display is turned on. And we'll leave that at 1 for right now. That's plenty smooth. And then we can show end result whenever we're working in editable poly mode. So now that we have the hip started, let's continue on and let's create the rest of the leg. Now the way to do this is very simple. We'll just come into border mode and select the bottom border. And in our front view, we're going to hold down shift and we're going to drag this all the way down to the knees, right in the middle. And I'm going to rotate that a little bit. Let's turn off local. Let's go to view. I'm going to rotate that to maybe right about there. It should cut right across the knee there. And then I'm going to grab my scale tool and scale that down to about the width there, minus the wrinkles. I'm not worried about those. Let's go to our left view, and let's move that forward. Okay. Now with this, I'm going to hold down shift, and I'm going to drag this down to the ankle, right above the shoe. We'll go to our front view, and I'm going to rotate that back to where that's straight across there. Now let's pull that across here to where it looks like it's right on top of that shoe there. And then now what we need to do is we need to create the curvature of the leg. Now the way to do this is very simple. We'll just come in and go to our modeling tools, and we'll use edit swift loop. Hold down shift, and you'll see that that starts to pull out a little bit. So great way of creating some very quick curvature. Let's hold down shift, and this one's not going to be so easy, so I'm going to left click right here, and then I'm going to take that edge using my scale tool, and I'm going to scale that straight out. Okay, then I'm going to grab my move tool and I'm going to pull that over just a little bit. Shouldn't be too much. And then using swift loop, I'm going to create a loop right here in the middle. That's going to make it kind of large, but let's grab our scale tool and scale that back down. Let me scale this one up just a little bit more. And that looks good. Go to vertex mode. Let me select these along the bottom. Let me scale those. And then we need to make sure that we're paying attention to our left view. So let's grab these vertices and let's pull those straight back. Do the same thing here. Pull those straight back. Just trying to match the shape of the calf. And you're going to have a little bit of a bump along the front of the calf there. That's okay. If you want, you can come in and you could flatten that out a little bit more. That's perfectly fine. And let me take this edge. I'm going to scale that out. As well as this one. I'm going to scale that out too. And just double clicking on these edges here. Pulling those out a little bit further. Trying to match that profile reference image. And again, we just have a difference in the front and left image. And that's perfectly fine. So let's turn off our edge mode, and we can see exactly how that's forming. We're looking really good. Let's go to our front view, and that looks great. So now we have our shape, and now what we can do is we can start working on the overall look for this with the feet and all of that. So great shape in the lower legs. Really liking how that's looking with the silhouette and even with the shirt. So now that we have those pants, we're not worried about the wrinkles just yet. We're not ready to get into details. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start working on the shoes. So I'll see you in the next lesson.